Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and I'm here at the Rainbow Lake Wilderness area, and I've got the Nikon D800 with me. I told you guys I was going to get it out for landscape photography again. It's a little bit foggy up here. I wish it was a little bit thicker, this fog, but at least there's some fog, and I'm going to hike my way down to the upper portions of Middle Creek and see if I can frame up a landscape photography composition. I'm about halfway to Middle Creek now. It's about a mile to get there, and it's all downhill, which means on the way back it'll be all uphill. The first half mile or so is not very steep, but once you get to the midway point, it gets a lot steeper. And the fog is continuing to be not as thick as I would like, but at least it's still here. I don't know, it might look pretty dense looking out into the valley in this shot. Whoa. But anyway, I will continue. I'm almost to the creek, and the man-made dam here at the top of it that was made for a resort 100 years ago. The resort's gone, but the dam is still here. And it rained 2 days ago pretty good. And I was worried that I wouldn't have good flow over the dam, but it turns out it looks like it's flowing all the way across. So I'm going to head down there and try to frame up a composition. The water flow is the good news. The bad news is the fog is gone. So I won't have the nice atmosphere that I was hoping for, but let's see what the old D800 can do at Rainbow Lake Dam. I'm definitely glad I brought my Dunlop waterproof boots on this one. I do have pretty good flow all the way across, but it's not heavy flow, and because of that, I'm able to get a lot more in the middle than last time I came here. And like we discussed earlier, I'm using the D800. I've got a circular polarizer on. I'm using the 24-70 f2.8G. I'm shooting at f8 and 1/2 a second. And making a few shots just kind of straight at it, or maybe slightly to the left of it, with the waterfall kind of in the top right of the frame. So let's see how those came out. So here's that first shot, 1/2 a second, f8, ISO 100. And I love that you can see the blue color of this water in the deeper sections here. And I actually pulled a little bit of the blues out of the color because the waterfall looked blue. So I pulled the blue out a little bit, but you can still see the blue here. I was worried that when I fixed the waterfall to where it would be white, that you wouldn't be able to see the blue here, but that worked out really nice. And I did crop it to 16:9, so it looks good in a YouTube situation. And I really love going to this location. I go here at least once a year and make a photography video, and I try to take a different camera every time. As I'm working my circular polarizer this morning, you can turn it and it'll get rid of almost all the glare on the water, or you can turn it and all the glare will be present. But I'm somewhere in the middle, maybe leaning slightly towards most of the glare removed. I don't want it to be completely transparent. I want you to be able to see that there's water there, but I don't like all the glare. But sometimes if you use all the circular polarizer and get rid of all the glare, it takes some of the dimension out of the shot. When I bought this camera years and years ago, I was using it for bird photography, and of course, these days, it's not a great option for bird photography anymore. The frame rate is slow, it doesn't have eye detect autofocus, and now I'm using it all these years later as a landscape photography camera. Well, I never bought a L bracket for it, which you kind of need for landscape photography, and I don't think anybody even makes them anymore, but I found this Really Right Stuff L bracket on KEH, bought it used. I bet this thing was almost $200 new, but I think I paid $50 or so. And it's working great this morning. I've moved over to the left side of the creek now, which normally if the water's higher than this, I can't get here without the water overflowing the top of my boots. But over here, I've got a less obstructed view of the pool at the base of the waterfall, or the base of the dam stillway, I guess. And over here, I thought an even longer exposure would do best. So in conjunction with my polarizer, I also put a 6-stop neutral density filter on. I'm still shooting at f8 ISO 100, but now I've got a 25-second shot, and I think it looks pretty cool. Here's the next shot. I made several shots from this area, and the one I ended up liking the best is this one, which is 20 seconds, 24 millimeters f8 ISO 100. And you can see the water is much slicker now at the 20-second exposure. And I'm not sure if I like this one better or the previous one better that was only a half a second, but I'm fairly fond of both of them. Pretty cool. And I did also crop this one to 16:9 for YouTube purposes. But it looked okay, not 16:9, but I just like the way 16:9 looks, even if it's not YouTube. The last time I was here, I made some photographs of this tree with its incredible root system. It's really amazing the way it's grown up on the top of those rocks, and it has huge tree trunk size roots coming down here as well. So that's really cool, but my compositions were kind of facing that way. Well, today I've decided to make some more shots of that tree. But this time I'm kind of facing this way, and there's another tree in the background with a similar root system, not as incredible, but similar. And I made some shots of it, and I wasn't liking it. I wanted more depth. And I ended up trying something that you can't do with most landscape photography lenses, because most landscape photography lenses don't go to 2.8. But I opened it up to 2.8, focused on this tree, and hopefully, I haven't seen it on a big screen, so I can't really tell, but hopefully that has made this background tree look like it's in fog a little bit, because it should be out of focus some and give the photo more depth. Okay, so here's the pictures of the trees, and I shot this with a smaller aperture, and I also shot it wide open at 2.8, and it was the 2.8 shot that I liked the best. And you can see the foreground tree, the main subject tree, is in nice sharp focus, but this tree is also kind of a subject tree, and at 2.8 it's still relatively in focus. But I really like these two trees in the background and these Douglas firs over here, how they're kind of almost completely out of focus, which gives depth to this shot even though there wasn't much fog at all. And it's 1/15 of a second wide open at 2.8 ISO 162 millimeters. One of my favorite shots of the day, and if you follow me on social media, I put this on my Facebook photography page and on my Vero and on my Instagram, so I must like this one pretty much to be sharing it all over the place. I'm going downstream a little bit further, and there's this little area right here that, I don't know, it's not a waterfall, it's just a creek doing what creeks do, but I liked it, and I like the trees in the background, and there's one fallen tree that's kind of hard to see. I made a few shots of it fairly polarized, and then I realized with it polarized that log doesn't show up at all. So I took almost all of the polarization out so there'd be a little sheen on that log and it would show up. And this is another, I don't know, we'll see what it looks like at home. So let's see what it looks like. So this shot has almost no polarization in it, maybe even none, maybe as little as you can have while having a polarizer attached to your camera. And I wasn't sure if I was going to use it, but in the end, I kind of like it. And it is a 34 millimeter shot at 0.4 of a second, f14 ISO 100. Looks pretty nice. This is the fallen tree that I was talking about right up here that seemed to disappear. If it was polarized, there was no shininess to it. And I actually like the shininess on these rocks. It was fully overcast, so the light was kind of flat. So having a little bit of glare on these rocks kind of helped add some depth to the photograph. And I like all these fallen trees and their strange patterns back here in the background. Kind of happy with the shot overall. I framed up another shot, this time with the dam and its waterfall spillway in it, but I'm way further downstream. You can't even see the pool, the huge pool that's right in front of it. It's not in this shot at all. It's blocked by a bunch of rocks, but there is a pool in this shot. I don't know if I can get it in the frame. There is a pool in this shot, but it's only 10 or 12 feet in size. So I put the 6-stop back on, and I've made another 30-second shot from here with just a little different view of it, where you can see much more of the things that are downstream of it. So this shot ended up being 28 millimeters f16, 20 seconds ISO 100. And one of the things I really liked about this composition was this tree right here. And I liked the way with my camera at the level that it was, the tree kind of went above the waterfall. When I stood fully up, it made the tree look like it was right in front of the waterfall, which I didn't like. So I lowered the camera down a little bit to get this look. And I ended up preferring the way this picture looked in black and white much more than I did the color shot. And it's another 16:9 crop, kind of halfway polarized, and I think it turned out all right. I hope you like it as well. This is a bonus section. The further away from the waterfall I got, I had already finished up and I'd already made my goodbye, give me a thumbs up clip. And as you're almost to the parking lot, the trail goes right past a golf course. And the fog had returned. The fog wasn't in the valley where the waterfall was, but up here at the top of the mountain, the fog is here. And there's this beautiful tree right over here. And I couldn't help but sneak onto the golf course and make a couple of f8 shots of it, and I'll show those to you now. So here's the bonus shot, and I actually saw this tree when I was driving in. There's actually, you can barely see it, but there's a road back here. There's a fence that you can barely see through all the fog, and when you go to the trailhead, you drive down this road beside that fence, and I saw this tree on this fairway of this golf course, and I said, man, I'd love to get a shot of that in the fog. And I chickened out sneaking onto the golf course on the way to the waterfall, but on the way back, the fog had returned, or maybe it never left at the top of the mountain, and I just had to get this shot. It's a 56mm shot at f8, 1/100th of a second, ISO 100. And if you look over here, you can see some details of some very fogged out trees in the background. And the same thing over here. The main subject tree is pretty fogified, but the trees in the background are almost invisible because of the thickness of the fog. You can see here's a flag for the golf course. And I liked also that there's some seasonal grasses in this fairway, and they're still brown, but there's also this layer of green grass that the tree's on, so it gave some nice layers in this. And I thought about black and whiting this shot, but I think it looked better with these subtle colors in it. One of my favorite shots of the day, and I'm glad I snuck into the golf course for this bonus photo. I've had a lot of fun this morning at the Rainbow Creek Wilderness area on top of Signal Mountain, making photographs of things on and around Middle Creek. And now I'm going to call it a day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of using this old 10 or 12-year-old or 8 or 10-year-old Nikon D800 held together with super glue to do landscape photography. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and I'm considering purchasing a D850. A buddy of mine, or really is an acquaintance of mine, this fellow I know, he's a nice guy. He just bought a Z8, and he's had a D850 for a long time. Doesn't have many shots on it, and I might be able to get it at a really nice price. So hopefully I do, and then I might start using that as my landscape photography camera on these adventures. But right now I'm really enjoying using the D800, and I think it's working pretty well for me. I think I already said give me a thumbs up. Don't give me 2 because it'll take away the thumbs up. But anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, hit the bell. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.